Every couple of weeks, I like to remind you all that we still have two astronauts stranded in space. Yes, that's right, folks. Those astronauts are still stuck in space, floating around, probably constipated from all of the toothpaste food. As you all might remember, they were only supposed to be at the International Space Station for 8 days before returning to Earth. Well, now it has been months, and they say it may be up to another year, and NASA just does not want to admit their failures, but I told you all from day one that this situation was much worse than they were letting us know. And the reality is they had no business sending that ship into space in the first place, because they were suffering from several different complications that they did not let people know about until the astronauts were stranded at the space station. So they literally risked these people's lives in multiple ways, knowing that they had no business, using this spacecraft. But there's big money in this, folks. NASA and Boeing, they're invested in not letting you know the truth. They can't let you know how bad things are because that would be bad for business. But the reality is they're going to have to rely on Elon Musk to rescue these astronauts. But folks, now there's a new problem. Now NASA has suddenly realized, oh wait, the spacesuits that we created for these astronauts won't work in Elon Musk's spacecraft. For one, the suits are too bulky. They might not even be able to get through the hatch to get inside of the spacecraft. And then it will not hook up to the spacecraft. So now they're realizing that these two astronauts don't have suits that will be compatible with Elon Musk's ship. And I feel like this is something they should have realized a long time ago. But it's like it finally hit them like, oh, wait. But there's other problems happening as well. And we don't know all of it. But NASA is slowly releasing information. And slowly it's showing, like I told you all, that this situation is pretty bad. But let's go ahead and dive right in. Two astronauts stranded in the International Space Station after their Boeing spacecraft malfunctioned could be there much longer than anticipated because of an incompatibility with their spacesuits. NASA says their Boeing spacesuits are made to work with the company's spacecraft, while SpaceX's spacesuits are made to work with its own Dragon vessel, which NASA astronauts Butch Whitmore and Suni Williams may ride in on their descent back to Earth. With the commercialization of space, NASA is not as deeply involved as it once was with every aspect of mission and spacecraft design. As a result, an incompatibility between the spacesuits designed by SpaceX and Boeing has reportedly created an issue returning Wilmore and Williams to Earth. The Boeing spacesuit is made to work with the Starliner spacecraft, and the SpaceX suit is made to work with the Dragon spacecraft, says NASA. Both were designed to fit each unique craft. So I think that this should have been this is a problem that they should have identified a while ago. Like, why did it take you all this long? They've been trapped up there in space for months, and now y'all are like, oh wait, yeah, the spacesuits won't work. So guess what they're... Oh man. It's kind of mind-boggling, but NASA is supposed to roll out a plan to get these astronauts home this weekend. By the end of the weekend, we're supposed to know what they're going to do. They're in talks right now of possibly bringing these astronauts home on Elon Musk's Dragon spacecraft, but bringing them home without wearing suits at all. So they're talking about strapping these two individuals into their little chair and bringing them back to Earth with no spacesuits on. Now that poses many risks. They say, hey, it could happen, we could do it. But, if y'all could do it, how come y'all don't usually do that? Usually people are in their suits ready for any complications. But they're like, hey, we don't even need the suits. Now, you would think, why is this such a big deal, right? Couldn't you just send some suits up there, make some new suits? I don't know. But you have to understand that space travel, it's obviously difficult. There's a lot of technical issues. There's a lot of technicalities, stuff that we don't understand. And even something as small as, hey, we got to include 2 extra suits on this mission. The experts may have to go back to the drawing board, figure out the logistics. They have to figure out a lot of things. Adding a couple of pounds, adding a spacesuit, adding a couple of extra people to a flight, that's a big deal that they have to plan for, that they have to do research on. And sometimes that takes months, if not longer. And then some of these spacesuits, not all of them, they have to, specifically design them for a specific person. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case with these suits that Elon Musk is using, but sometimes that is the case. So, they may have to put these suits into production, and we don't know how long that would take. So there's different complications that are coming up when it comes to the problems surrounding these suits. I think sending these astronauts home with no suits on is kind of scary because it's not something you typically see. Also, I'm concerned about adding 2 extra people to a ship that you weren't really prepared, to do, because any extra little bit of weight, anything, it changes a lot of things. But let's go ahead and dive back in. NASA has yet to make a decision, but one of those alternatives includes sending the astronauts home on a Dragon spacecraft that is already docked at the station, a representative from the space agency said during a press conference last week. Yet that approach comes with complications. If NASA chose that option, Wilmore and Williams would be the 5th and 6th astronauts on a spacecraft that's limited to 4 passengers. And because their Starliner suits aren't compatible with the Dragon spacecraft, they would have to return to Earth without suits on, which isn't necessarily dangerous, but it offers them less protection in case something goes wrong with the capsule. The differing suit designs and plugs for the Starliner and Dragon spacecraft comes down to a new process for commercial crewed space missions that NASA has implemented. Previously, NASA was extremely involved in the manufacture and testing of all spacecrafts and suits, but that is no longer the case. Another alternative is sending the astronauts home on a different Dragon spacecraft that's set to reach the International Space Station in September. This ship could reach the space station with only 2 of its usual 4 crew members, and it could send up extra spacesuits, which would allow Wilmore and Williams to return to Earth fully suited in the 2 unfilled seats. But if NASA chooses this alternative, the Starliner ship that the astronauts originally flew in would have to undock and return to Earth autonomously to make room for the Dragon spacecraft arriving in September. And Boeing has said it might not be able to do that. So even if Elon Musk can come and get these astronauts from the space station, they're also going to have to rely on the Boeing Starliner to disconnect from the space station and get the hell out of the way and return to Earth by itself with no one on board. And NASA's not sure if they could even do that. So there's a whole nother complication that they did not let us know about, folks. Like I said, they've been downplaying this situation every freaking step of the way. They made it seem like it would be so easy. Oh, Elon Musk will just pull up, rescue these people, they'll go home. They've failed to mention the spacesuits until now. And they've failed to mention, oh, wait, well, in order to dock this spacecraft, we're going to have to undock this other spacecraft that's not working. And we're going to have to do so without there even being people inside. And NASA doesn't even know if they're going to be able to do that. So that's where we're at. Understand, as I read you all this information, they're still downplaying the dangers here, folks. If it's not dangerous to return to Earth without a spacesuit on, then why don't you always do it? They're playing with these astronauts' lives because they don't want to admit their failures. And adding extra people to a spacecraft equipped for 4 people, that sounds dangerous as well. But let's go forward. There's still a little more information to check out here. Because of the way Boeing's contract with NASA is structured, the company has had to absorb the extra costs associated with the technical failures of its Starliner. The company has already taken about $1.6 billion in charges on its Starliner program. If the Starliner left the space station without a crew, the astronauts on the ISS would also have to install 2 extra seats on the remaining Dragon spacecraft until the next Dragon arrives, because the remaining docked ship must provide enough seats to accommodate all of the NASA astronauts in case of an emergency. The marooned astronauts would need to take the place of the 2 astronauts pulled from the Dragon mission to accommodate them, which would keep them aboard the ISS until the regular rotation ends in February 2025. That would mean turning what was supposed to be just an over week-long mission 8 days into 8 months. Although both astronauts have completed longer missions on the ISS before, those were filled with less uncertainty. Wilmore's wife says that she is preparing for her husband to miss Christmas and the couple's 30th wedding anniversary. And, missing Christmas and anniversaries, that sucks, but that would be the least of my worries right now. My worry would be, or my concern would be, why is NASA, why is Boeing playing with my husband's life? Now, I'm obviously talking about like if I was that woman. I don't have a husband. This sounded weird there for a moment. But now they're saying, oh, well, even if we get this ship up there, you're going to have to install new seats in a spaceship. Folks, hear me out here. How in the hell are they supposed to do that? They're on the International Space Station floating in outer space. And now they're saying, oh, well, when we bring this other spaceship there, or this other spaceship that's docked up there, we're going to need y'all to install new seats in this spacecraft. With what? With freaking what? Used toothpaste food tubes? Keep all the tubes from your toothpaste food, and we're going to all kind of connect them together and make a seat. You can't tell me that they're going to be able to successfully put together safe seating for these astronauts to return home to Earth. Okay? This is not you riding to the gas station with your granddad in the back of his pickup truck because there's no seats in the back. Folks, these people are literally returning to Earth from outer space. And they want them to do it with no spacesuits on and not even a real chair to strap in. So Lord knows what in the heck would happen to them in the process of coming back into Earth. Think about that. You ain't got no spacesuit on, and you're not strapped to a chair. You're probably bouncing all over the freaking spaceship like a freaking ping pong. Like literally. But that's what they're proposing. They claim that they're going to have a plan laid out by Sunday, and this is what is being proposed right now. Horrible plans. One plan is we're going to send a ship up there with 2 people on it when it's supposed to have a crew of 4. And hopefully you can successfully undock this spacecraft that's not working without anyone on it. Hopefully you can undock it. Hopefully it doesn't crash into the space station and blow up or anything weird. And then the other plan is, hey, we're just going to throw you on this spacecraft that's only built for 4 people. We need you to make homemade chairs. And hey, forget about the suit. You'll be okay. Man, I would not want to be them. But for now, I want you all to let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. And I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.